What's up, Warriors fans? It's your man Max here from Warriors Latest. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like what you hear, as I do post new Warriors videos daily. Now, over the past day, I was just perusing the rumor wire, and one of the articles that I saw was that the Warriors, along with the Cavs and Lakers, are most likely to make moves at the deadline. Now, for the Lakers, I kind of get that because they're in transition. They're not really playing for a championship right now. They're playing to make the playoffs because they're building around Luka. They have their sights set on the summer of 2027, signing all these good players to 2-year deals so they can have a ton of cap room just like the Warriors are going to have. But with the Cavs, I found that a little interesting, mostly because the Cavs still aren't there. I don't know what way you put it, but with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell in the backcourt, you just can't win a title like that. Like you can get away with that in the regular season, but in the postseason, you can't get away with that. But for the Warriors, who've actually been they've been a dynasty, it does still concern me that they are expected to make moves at the deadline because the only move that they can make right now involves Jonathan Kuminga. And I know we're all tired of hearing about it, but he is the centerpiece of any future trade. However, the more I thought about it and the more I reread the article, I am a little convinced of the possibility that Draymond could be traded at the deadline just because of how at a certain point when you know you're competing for a championship, you want all your ducks in order, and constantly having to worry about Draymond and his outbursts, which in my opinion, I mean, let's be honest, they've gotten a little out of hand. Like, I understand earlier in your career, you got a lot off, but there was some real talent. You could lock down LeBron, Giannis, those kinds of guys back when you were younger. But now that you're older, you're getting up there, you're 35, you just can't get away with this as much anymore. I could see the Warriors sort of making that their primary concern because they dealt away Jordan Poole. Yeah, Jordan Poole really didn't amount to anything with the Wizards and now is with the Pelicans, but it's basically saying you sided with Draymond, and Draymond hasn't really given you anything. I mean, yes, he has been a facilitator and he's an important glue guy, but the glue's only as good as long as it's, how do we get it? Not volatile. Let's put it that way. And with Draymond, there is that possibility. I don't see it happening. I mean, I want to be crystal clear about that. I see this as extremely unlikely. This is a worst case scenario idea, but it's still a possibility. Now, the other thing that I was thinking about when I read this article was the fact that when have deadline moves ever really worked? And it's not just the NBA, but in all the major sports, the MLB, the NBA, as well as the NFL. Like the NFL, those deadline moves are always minimal, so they're not really worth looking at. A team like the Eagles or the Lions, they add a little bit to shore up their line, or they get one quarterback. There are too many players where one single acquisition isn't going to completely change the game. So the NFL is not like it. With the MLB, all right, there are situations where, at least that I can remember, where trade deadline deals have happened where the team has gone all the way to the World Series. I can't think of a major one where it's just completely reset the roster and led them to a title off the top of my head. There probably is one, but I'm not entirely sure. But in the NBA, let's be honest here, there aren't a lot of deals like that. And the thing is, in the NBA, what you start with is what you finish with. Now, thinking back of when it's worked, I got to admit, it's on the top of my head, only 2 times has it worked. And that's with, what's his name? Marc Gasol in 2019. He was really that final piece, but that big all-star piece for the Raptors to help them get over the hump against the Warriors that season. I do remember that season well, and I know you do too. They were a good team from 1 to 5. Yeah, Jonas Valanciunas was good in the middle at the 5 with that Raptors team, but once they got Marc Gasol, they became a real problem because Marc Gasol, I feel like, matches up better with Embiid in that 7-game series versus Valanciunas. Embiid would have had this way, and it doesn't get 7. Sixers end up playing the Warriors in the finals, and then we get the that three-peat. So Yeah, that's one of those times it did work. Now, obviously, Rashid traded to the Hawks, plays a game there, then gets traded over to the Pistons, pushes them over the top, upset a I would call it an old school super team, Lakers roster, and then bada bing, bada boom, bada bop. They go back to back in terms of Eastern Conference Finals appearance, or excuse me, NBA championship appearances, winning against Lakers, and that's that. But considering those are the only two times, that's 2019 and 2004, I'm really not liking the odds of success when it comes to the Warriors if they make that major trade. Now, if they make some smaller trades, it's 50-50. But for the roster as it's constructed now, like we know Jonathan Kuminga is going to be that centerpiece, but as the roster is constructed now, we're not any better than a play-in team. Even though a top-tier play-in team, like the 7th seed, but still a play-in team nonetheless. And that's just concerning because when you have a championship able roster, you want everything settled at the very beginning. We look at that Warriors team that won in 15. Everything was settled like at the beginning of training camp. They knew what they were going with. So the only thing that changed was David Lee was going to the bench and Draymond was starting. That's it. I mean, we look at all championship teams. Like LeBron has been able to get to the title numerous times because he reshapes the roster, but he never wins. I mean, yeah, it does play into like the next season, but that doesn't happen. Even if, all right, there are a number of trades that sort of have worked halfway. Like you think of Serge Ibaka, you think of Pau Gasol when he came to Kobe, because he did make the title that year, but they lost, but won the next 2 years. So you do have trades at the deadline that do work at the deadline, but don't work until next year. And I don't know if the Warriors can wait that long because there have been just too many times where it hasn't worked. Like major trade deadline deals haven't worked, and we could point to the deadline of '08. We can point to numerous times where teams have gone all in only to fizzle out in the first or second round. And if the Warriors are going that way, I'm not liking their chances at a title because it's not going to happen that way. And with all the failures that happen, you think of all the teams that went all in '08 after the Lakers traded for Pau Gasol. I mean, Shaq to Phoenix, Kurt Thomas over to, that's not really a big one, but the Spurs, then Jason Kidd over to the Mavericks. They all went all in, only to lose to the Celtics. So I understand that there's the allure, but there's too high failure. And who even would the Warriors go all in on anyway? I can't even think off the top of my head. All right, say Kuminga accepts his 2-year, $45 million deal. Okay, he's the major trade bait. You trade him with who else? All right, Moody and then Buddy Hield after you signed all those minimum vets. So, all right, you've got something to lie back on. But who is going to be out there that really pushes the Warriors over the top? Right now, let's look at it. They've got their front court with the 5 seed, as well as their back court with the number 2 position as their really major points of weakness, along with a little bit of the bench, but not so much, because I do believe those free agents are going to shore things up. But who are you going to get? That's the thing that really complements Steph and really gives you what you need. And you can't have it as a short 2 guard since Buddy Hield's already there, but who are you going to get? Are you going to trade for, all right, best case scenario, you trade for Paul George. You get 3 years of him. All right, that shores you up at the 2-3 position, but you're still stuck with him, and he doesn't exactly fit the timeline. All right, say you trade for a big man. What big man, I'm talking legitimate 7-footer that's on the market, are you going to get that really changes the game? Yeah, you could maybe work something out with Utah, but you know they're going to draw blood. So what are you going to get, mid-season that you can't get now? I mean, yes, there's the potential for anything happening, but let's be realistic here. I don't know of anything that can be got in the mid-season that can't be got right now. I mean, yes, certain players that are good may become available, but I don't see how they could help the Warriors. You need a certain type of player to be successful with the Warriors. Just like you need to be a certain type of player to be successful with the Heat. There's a certain just mindset that comes along with it. And plus, on top of that, you have to learn the system. You have to get integrated. And unless you have the right mindset, you're not going to get integrated very fast. Because Kerr runs at least a good ship. He might be bad at developing players and just sort of sending the wrong messages, as I know many people believe he does. But he's done well in leading the team to a title. So there are a lot of coaches out there that have a lot of talent, but aren't able to put it all together. So, like you look at Doc Rivers, what he did with the Sixers, with the Bucks, and with the Clippers. Yeah, he had his little moment with with the Celtics when they won that title in 2008 and then came back to lose to the Lakers in 7 and 10, but it's tough to get players to come together. And on top of that, you think of the more recent failed midseason trades to go all in at the deadline. There's no bigger midseason trade than Kevin Durant. And we all know how that ended. Not good. So I just want the Warriors to at least think, if you're going to make moves or move Kuminga, move him right now. There are too many failures that have happened at the deadline where if you're making a big move, you're probably not going to win a title this year. I mean, like I said, the only 2 times it's worked, Marc Gasol, where they were already there, it sort of just pushed them over the hump. And then you had Rasheed Wallace. Because then it sort of just filled the gap. You had Ben Wallace, Rasheed, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, and Chauncey Billups. Perfect starting 5. You can't ask for a scrappier starting 5 in the last 25 years. So I'll give them their props. But like I said, the Warriors they need to solve this Kuminga situation, whether it be keeping him or trading him away. You got to understand, and this is what I don't like about the overall blogs. They think you can, or at least the Warriors positive blogs, they always think you can get more than what's available for a certain player. Like, I was big on Royce O'Neal, Nick Richards, and multiple second-round picks, along with Ryan Dunn for Jonathan Kuminga. But aside from that, you're not going to get that much. It's not that you can't get that much. It's just, how are you going to sell Kuminga as that type of player unless he comes back? And if he's coming back, you're only signing him for 22.5, and this is best case scenario, that he waives his no trade clause, or the implied no trade clause, and then moves forward from there, accepts that he's probably going to be traded, and then gets moved. On top of that, what are you going to get back that's of any value? It's going to take time to integrate them. It's going to take time to sort of get them in the roster, or get them in the rotation, and at that point, the season might be over and you're hitting the playoffs. And if you're hitting the playoffs, what's going on here? Like, there is a lot that could be happening, especially when you're going up against the likes of, say, the Timberwolves, the Clippers, maybe even the Kings should they sign Russell Westbrook, the Lakers, but I don't predict they'll be as much of a problem as people think. Not the Cavaliers, the Thunder, the Rockets, all of those teams, like even the Nuggets, like now that they've gotten better, like all these teams, they're going to be right there. And you don't really have, when you're chasing a title, you don't really have time to waste on integrating a brand new player, regardless of how good he is, unless he's played under Coach Kerr before. And the only players that have played under him have been Olympians. And I don't think too many Olympians are going to be available come February. So, Warriors, get everything straight. Get the situation with Kuminga resolved by training camp, and let's get this title. Now, that's all we have for Warriors Latest today. As always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And, all right, if you could think of a good, say, deadline deal, either involving Kuminga or Draymond Green, not likely to happen, but just a thought, feel free to comment below. And as always, go Dubs.